Morning, folks. Let's get the party started. Let's get right into it. Just make sure we're good on all the platforms here. As always, Facebook, what's happening? Facebook, we're good. All right. Let's see, LinkedIn, where we at? LinkedIn. Come on, LinkedIn. You're slowing up my roll. LinkedIn, let's go. Jesus. Happy April 1st, by the way, folks. Happy April 1st. All right, LinkedIn, we're good. And let me get to YouTube. So for those, if it's your first time tuning into, whether you're listening to this live or if you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, just know Monday through Friday, I record these live Monday through Friday on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And they now go on the podcast, the Move Swiftly podcast, that afternoon. So if you miss it in the morning, then you can always catch it in the afternoon. All right, let's get this going. And YouTube, we're good.
Always catch it in the afternoon. All right, let's
all right, cool.
Let's get this going. And YouTube.
All right, cool. So we're good. We're all good. Good morning. Or good afternoon, possibly good afternoon, whatever time of day you may be listening to this or tuning into this. Great to meet you all. If it's your first time tuning in to my work, let me just introduce myself to you. My name, Aswand Cruickshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time, published author and educator. What I do, what the whole Move Swiftly thing is all about, it's about taking the lessons, the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses so they have a staff, they have a group of employees that moves as efficiently and as productively and as eager and as hungry as a championship high school or youth football team. That's what we do over here in the Move Swiftly world in a nutshell. And today happens to be Top 5 Tuesday. Oh, man, I could not tell you how pumped I am to get into this conversation because Top 5 Tuesdays, it's a system. I started doing this around this time last year because this, if you could recall, a year ago around this time, there was a lot of chatter about Caitlin Clark and the kind of the cultural phenomenon that she was created. So I got to thinking about, just a top 5 list. I started thinking about the top 5 hometown heroes because that's what Caitlin Clark was. Was born in Iowa, played in Iowa, was putting Iowa on the map. And I had a top 5 list of my college hometown heroes. So Caitlin Clark was on the list. It was Caitlin Clark, Tim Tebow. It was Sean Merriman, who was from University of Maryland, and Reggie Bush and Skylar Diggins. That was my 5. And ever since then, it's been Top 5 Tuesday every single week for about a year now. So it's pretty cool. And it's great. It's great because today's list is going to kind of be similar to that in terms of talking sports. And, one of my superpowers, one of the things I'm really great at is taking what happens in sports and aligning it with the business world. So, you guys as business owners can see how important it is to make sure you're doing the work and putting the time and effort in to make it so you're finding the right people and training these people so they can do multiple things. That's really important. So that's really going to be the takeaway from today when it comes to what we're going to talk about. As you guys can see on the screen, we're breaking down, in my view, and this is, again, I'm born 1989. All right, I was born in 1989, so I can't have a lot of you. I got a young cats, older cats, whatever it is, coming at me with this list. But if you were born 1989, or let's say I'll even push it back further to, let's say, 1984, when my sister was born, 5 years before me, right? And I'll tell you, I don't think you're going to have much of a problem with this list, this top 5 list of exceptional athletes. Obviously, you're going to say some stuff about, you might have something to say about the Jordan thing. You might need me to explain the Sean Taylor thing a little bit, but I think you're going to sort of be understanding of this list of top 5 trend-setting athletes. But before we get into all of that, let me just get through a couple announcements here, and then we'll get it going. We'll get it going right away. So first things first, as always, if you are in the West Palm Beach area and you are interested in free, you heard me correctly, free, that's Free, free boxing lessons. I put those on every 2 weeks. If you're interested in that, just hit that QR code that you see on the screen. Or if you are listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, just simply go to freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. That's freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. All the information is there, and I will send you the details. And that is if you are local in the West Palm Beach area. Next thing, as I mentioned, business owners, I'm here to serve you. We are here. The Move Swiftly brand is all about creating systems in which you are going to have a strong staff, a staff that's making it so you as an owner can simply focus on how the money comes in while your staff is making sure all the other stuff is so versatile in the work they do, and they're so great because you have created a system in which they're holding themselves accountable for certain things getting done. That's what you want. That's what you need to be working towards. All right. freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That's freeguide.makeyourmove.com. I created a 10-step process, 10 bullet points that you can use right now as we speak to make it so you can start to implement some of these things, the system that I created in your business as we speak right now. And Patreon, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Make sure you tap in to the Patreon link. It's patreon.com/Aswand44. And all of that is available on makeyourmove.com. As you can see here, just go to makeyourmove.com. You can shop now. You can join the Patreon. You can book me to speak. You can learn more about just this guy named Aswand Cruickshank, right? Puts out a ton of stuff on the internet. Or you can, again, just listen to the #1 podcast on innovative teamwork, which is the Move Swiftly podcast. All of that is available on makeyourmove.com. That's makeyourmove.com. All right, let's get into this. Let's see. Hold up. I think I messed something up. Hold on. Whoa. Bear with me for a second. All right, cool. So I got to put myself back. All right, cool. Yeah. I'm working with the screens here. So again, if you're listening, you bear with me for a little bit as I, utilize technology and all that. I'm still fairly new to it, but if you can recall back when I first started these things, I've gotten so much better. I'm so proud of myself for learning how to use some certain buttons and stuff like that. All right, so let's get right into it. Let's get right into this. So top five trend-setting athletes. Top 5 trend-setting athletes. First and foremost, here's what I want to make sure I explain to you all. All right, when it comes to Swiftly and what the actual acronym means. It's really important that I re-explain it to you guys, all right? Because Swiftly is an acronym. It's an acronym that was created by yours truly. And ultimately, if you think about the word and think about what the word means, it means to go rapidly, it means to go at a fast pace. That's what it means, all right? So when it comes to Swiftly, it's S. It starts with S, and that stands for skilled workers. All right. Skilled workers, meaning people that will be good at everything. They're licensed work and they come in to do a certain skill. They come in, you're a plumber, you're a cosmetologist, you have the skill to be an electrician, you have an actual trade. All right. Those are skilled workers, and they can do things and they can get paid just based on what they're naturally gifted at. All right. And I talk about, again, you have that category of workers, and it's great. And one of the things I break down in the workshop is it's great to be able to make money off your skill, but God forbid something happens and you can no longer use that skill anymore, right? If let's say you're an electrician and God forbid something happens and you get electrocuted and all of a sudden you can't be around certain things, and now all of a sudden you have to figure out ways to pay the bills without utilizing that skill, which brings me to WI, well-informed, which is why being a well-informed worker is something I'm always encouraging everybody to be, because you can't trade when you have the information in your head, you're able to be the person that puts skilled people in the right place. And then FT is front team. Those are the folks that you only care about when you see something wrong. You see certain, windows not cleaned, you see bathrooms not cleaned, or you see something that is made from a maintenance standpoint, then you call front team workers that are making sure the roads are paved and stuff like that. So I put everyone in the categories, and you get SWIFT and then LY. The reason you see this plus LY and why I chose that as a logo is because you lift yourself, and the goal is to become all three. All right, the goal is to become all three, to have similarities of, or be in a situation where whether you're a well-informed worker, you're developing the skill. If you're a skilled worker, you're starting to understand what the front team does. When you're a front team worker, you got to make sure you get some information. You got to understand the whole picture. And as your company grows, as you grow, then you start getting better. So I came up with that concept because I come from the football world. All right. In the football world, that's the way it's broken down. It's broken down into skilled players, which are your wide receivers, your running backs, your quarterbacks, your DBs, those type of guys, to your well-informed players, which was what I played, linebacker, quarterbacks, right? But a lot of us know what the quarterback is, the tight ends, the guys that are responsible for doing multiple things as a tight end. You got to block, you got to catch, you got to be the one that has your hand in a lot of different things when it comes to the play calling. Same thing with linebackers. You have to play in coverage. We're going to get into that as we get into the list. You got to be able to play defense. You have to be able to cover during the pass, and then you also have to be run stoppers as well, and front team workers, which are the offensive and defensive linemen. Most of the times, if you're watching a game on TV, you're only really hearing about the offensive linemen when they're giving up a sack or they're holding. But when they, again, 98% of the time, offensive linemen do their job and they do it well, no one really cares, right? They're only paying attention to the running back that actually was benefiting off the fact that the linemen did their job. All right. So that's how I came up with the concept. And when it comes to today's list, and just for those of you guys who don't know, the reason it's relevant to you as a business owner, the reason I needed to break down the acronym for you really quickly is because as a business owner, when it comes to hiring your staff, when it comes to bringing the people in that you are trying to fill your business with, you have to make sure you have created a system. You have to make sure you've put them on a trajectory in which they have this system in mind, and every single day they're doing something to get better. You do not no longer, again, I mean, listen, it's never actually been true, but nowadays, with the way the internet works and the way people meet other people and how they can really just go after things, if you are not setting up a system in which somebody comes into your business as an employee and you are not requiring them to get better every single day at something and not just remain the status quo, you're a dinosaur. You're a dinosaur as a business owner, and you will fail. You will go out of business like that because you haven't set up a system in which the people who are coming into work every day are getting better at something. Meaning, a person started here when they started doing this when they first got hired. You look up a year from now, and this is the change that they made in their life because you've set up a system in which they're continuously improving professionally. I'm not necessarily just talking about money, but it does have a role to play in it. But I'm talking about just improvements, becoming the best version of yourself. All those kinds of things are absolutely on you as a business owner to make sure you're setting up that system so they get better. So that's what you have to take away from this list. All right, when it comes to, and the reason I came up with this list is because when you look at sports and you see players that are just absolutely changing the game, and dominating the game and doing things that have never been done. If you can align that concept with your business, then you will have the cohesive staff, in which makes it so you can be hands off. But as a business owner, what you need to be focusing on is making sure the money's coming in, and you have to trust the system that you created for your staff to get better. If you don't have that system, telling you right now, I've been a part of it. I've seen it happen on multiple occasions with multiple owners. You will fail. If you just sit back and decide, okay, because I'm the owner, then I'm just going to sit back and do nothing and watch my staff just do whatever and, leave it on them to get better. Okay, what's going to happen is you're going to lose your fucking business. That's what's going to happen. You're going to lose it, and it's going to hurt immensely. All right. So before we get into the list, let's just make sure we're on the same page. Let's make sure we're on the same page and get a quality definition of the word trendsetter. All right, trendsetter definition: person who leads the way in talking about fashion or ideas, but it does actually relate an exceptional definition. Exceptional, unusual, not typical. Unusually good, outstanding. That's what we're talking about here today. All right, so let's get right into it. First and foremost, all right. Number one, when I came up with this list, let me just tell you, I'll be 100% honest with you guys, as I always am. It was no question about it. No question about it. King James, hate him, love him, like him, whatever it is you feel about it, whatever type of way you may feel about this guy is clearly the number one trendsetter, number one exceptional athlete, at least of my generation. Now, again, born in 1989. So this dude, I disagree with a lot of his politics and some of the stuff that he's put out there from a political standpoint and all that. But this dude, when it comes to being an exceptional athlete and a trendsetter, there was absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right. I'll read it because I have it written right here on the article that just dropped. Let's see, when did it drop? It dropped 4 hours ago. All right. I've been watching LeBron James since middle school, when he was still just a junior in high school. That means I've witnessed over 20 years of sheer dominance. Before LeBron, basketball was rigged. You had a point guard, you had a shooting guard, you had a small forward, you had a power forward, and you had a center. Clear role. So what happened was they called those roles. It was point guard, they called the 1, shooting guard, they called the 2, small forward, they called the 3, power forward, they called the 4, and the center, they called the 5. So you would basically have it where guys would come in, basketball players would come in. It's like, okay, you're going to play the 1, that's the point guard. You're going to play the 2, that's the shooting guard. You're going to play the 5, you're going to play this. That's how basketball used to be. That's how basketball used to be. And then this dude came into the game. And he was 6'8", 280, and he's bringing the ball down the court as a point guard, dishing and hitting fadeaways, and then being able to post cats up. And I'll never forget. This is when I really became a believer, because when it comes to LeBron, there's two stories I have to tell. I have to tell these two stories. All right, because I came up a Iverson fan, and had it not been for him, Iverson probably would have made this list, because Iverson was one of the ones that was able to go from 1 guard to 2 guard. He made this transition from 1 guard to 2 guard. So there was thoughts of Iverson making this list, but because of him, again, Iverson had to be left out of this list. But when it comes to what I had to witness, all right. Again, once Iverson retired, or was kind of his career past, moved to the next stage or whatever, I became a D Wade fan. I became a Dwayne Wade fan, which made it so I cheered for the Miami. I still to this day actually cheer for the Miami Heat, because D Wade's been loyal to the organization or whatever. So I've been a Miami Heat fan since they won that championship in 2006. In fact, actually, the year before, I started saying, all right, D Wade is my guy. And so was 2005, was that year that I think they lost to Detroit. In the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it was the first year that Shaq was there. So what happened was, I would get into arguments. I'd get into constant debates about how, D Wade was better than LeBron and all that. That was me. I was, saying it with my chest. Like, come on, that's D Wade though, right? And then D Wade won that championship, and LeBron never got one. So I was really talking it with my chest. I'm like, y'all talking about all that Kobe and LeBron. I said D Wade's better than both of them, and D Wade has a ring. So the pushback that I would get would be, all right, well, D Wade had Shaq and this, and I was like, well, so did Kobe have Shaq, So we get into all those debates. That's what it's one of the things I do. I'm always doing some sports debate. That's what I'm about. I love it. Right? But anyway, here's what made me have to kind of humble myself and just say, all right, look, LeBron, you got that, though. You got that. Because when he came to Miami, he was clearly, as you watch the game, He was clearly the best player on the court, hands down. Hands down, all right? We were in a series against the Chicago Bulls. I'll never forget this because we were in it was the Chicago, before we won the championship, before Miami Heat won that championship, they were in one hell of a series with the Chicago Bulls and one hell of a series with the Boston Celtics. I mean, it was rough getting out of those series with wins, all right? I watched this dude go from guarding Joakim Noah to Luol Deng to Derrick Rose. All right, Derrick Rose, who was the MVP. Derrick Rose before the ACL. Derrick Rose, who was Derrick Rose, dog. Chicago, Chi-Town, Memphis, Derrick Rose. Just boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was guarding. It was at the end of, you can go look this stuff up. It was at the end of the game, late, and Derrick Rose had the ball, and it was time to put the Miami Heat away. And you had LeBron James of all people guarding a point guard. He's guarding a point guard. And then throughout the game, he's guarding Joakim Noah. He's posting up on Luol Deng. Like, that's what I mean when I say positionless basketball. When it came time to play the Celtics, there were times in which, again, I'm watching the game. I'm watching the defense. I'm watching the switch. I'm watching all of the things that you can do when you have LeBron James on the court. He's taking the ball up the court, and then he's passing out, then posting up a Kevin Garnett, hitting them with the back, the fadeaway. And like, again, this is positionless basketball. And again, say what you want. Say what you want. I had to humble myself too. I had to say I was saying D Wade was the guy, but when I watched the game, I was like, look, LeBron got it. LeBron got it in terms of, because it's positionless. And because of the stuff he was able to do, the game became positionless. You don't get a Wembanyama. You don't get even what's my man name from the Bucks? Giannis. You don't get a Giannis, again, power forward type guy, but can also take it to the hoop, hit those mid-range jumpers and stuff like that. You don't get these taller guys that are now developing that outside game and being able to post cats up. So if you were coming into the game of basketball only playing one position before LeBron, or only focusing on one position before LeBron, you had a huge problem, because he made it so if you're going to be him, capital HIM, if you're going to be him, you got to make sure you're able to bounce around and do multiple things. The same way you as an owner now are going to see a certain employee that's able to handle multiple things and do a lot of great things as a business owner. You got to create that system that makes it so, okay, this is how we get better, and this is how we're going to create and build a future, right? I can give you an example. Back when I used to be a front desk associate at a gym named Washington Sports Club, one of those gyms that is no longer in business. So there was a front desk associate, and then there was also a daycare person to watch the kids while, the parents worked out or whatever. And I worked there for a year, and towards like the last, I'd say 3 or 4 months while I was there, the manager was telling me, look, we're no longer just hiring front desk people. We want to hire someone that can do daycare and front desk. And that's just the way it works. It's got to constantly get better. And I'll tell the story in the article, but there was a video with Jay-Z and LeBron, and they were doing some event at some youth recreation center or whatever. And Jay-Z was telling the story about how he first met LeBron, and he was telling them that there's no way you're going to play point guard in the NBA. You're too tall. You're 6'8". The ball's going to take too long to get down the court. There's no way you can go out and play point guard. So it was him and Jay-Z talking to this like young group of basketball players. And it was like, look, he proved me wrong, and you see what he's all about, right? So that was an easy number one on my end. It had to be LeBron James. It just had to be. All right. So number two, you've been looking at it. It's that dude, man. It's that dude, Usain Bolt. Again, like, all right, let me read it. Let me read it real quick, because as a Caribbean man, as a man that's been raised in a Caribbean household, this one was special. This one hit on a different chord when I was able to see him do his thing and change the narrative around what we're all about. All right, so let me read it real quick. Number two. Usain Bolt, growing up in a Caribbean household, I felt the sting of cultural stereotypes. Yes, I have. People labeling Caribbean men as lazy, unmotivated, always partying. Usain Bolt changed the narrative. Not only did he become a global icon in track and field, but he did it with style, grace, and undeniable dominance. He holds records, medals, and the heart of a generation. And after he retired from sprinting, he even tried pro soccer in Australia. Bolt didn't just win races, he redefined what Caribbean men aspire to. For that alone, he's number 2 in my book. Mike, drop. Mike is like, period, point blank. I'm going to give you guys a story. And it was maybe a couple years ago when I first got to South Florida. And if you don't know, South Florida, huge. It's a lot of Caribbean folks. One of the motivating factors for me moving to South Florida was because I knew I was going to meet a lot of other Caribbean folks, like my tribe of people, the household I grew up in. It's literally just going to be South Florida on steroids. My household is going to be like, I know South Florida was going to be my household on steroids. Like a bunch of Caribbean people, Caribbean men, Caribbean folks, coming together, building community, the whole, like everything. That was one of the motivating factors towards being in South Florida. And when you think about the job I took when I came to South Florida, it was with the Miami Dolphins Foundation. And it was all about just raising money for the community and doing things in the community, right? So couple stories on this, a couple stories when it comes to Usain Bolt. When I first realized it, now obviously watching him as an athlete, he was unbelievable. Like, just again, the ability, the sprinting, but the reason he is number 2 and easy number 2 was the way I kind of saw the whole South Florida world react to him. All right. Well, first of all, there was kind of a contradiction. All right. So there were two things. I was in a Publix. So if you don't know what a Publix is, it's a grocery store out here in South Florida. I'm not sure where they are, but the first time I've ever seen a Publix is in Florida. So I'm just going to assume that they're strictly in Florida or other places. I'm not really sure. But anyway, I was in one of these Publix and I was getting some food and I overheard one of these like young ladies talking about Caribbean men, right? They were talking about Caribbean men and one of them asked another young girl, she goes, would you ever date a man that's Jamaican? And then she goes, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just this guy, like she was so focused and making it so like we as Caribbean men, we had this stereotype there's a stereotype with us that we're not motivated. We're not going to make great fathers. We're not productive members of society. We're not, there's this stereotype in which we're hated and by our own people. We're sort of looked at as by our own people as people that are not going to be productive. And when it came to, it wasn't just about Usain Bolt, but I'll never forget the image of him. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. It was Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, first, second, third place. Let me just look. There was a point, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I've seen, right here, where Usain Bolt, it was Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, and this is it. I watched this live. Let me read the article real quick. Usain Bolt, yep. I'm not sure. I gotta look it up later. But there was a point in which Johan Blake, and then another one from Jamaica. They came in first, second, and third in one of. I think it was like the 200 or the 100 or something like that. But the bottom line is that they changed the narrative around what we as Caribbean men could be. All right. It really did inspire me. Now, when it comes to the activity of running, and I tell the story all the time, it was my mother who got me into running. It was my mother who used to wake me up every single morning, go for a run. And, it was not only her, but my father as well, that really, pushed for me to join the track teams and be a part of track and stuff like that. If I had it to do over again, I probably would have stuck with track a little longer, a little, more than I actually did. But it was my parents who really were adamant when it comes to being involved in track and stuff like that. And when I saw what he was able to do, whether it was him, whether it was Sonia Richards-Ross, whether it was Otto Bolden, a lot of Caribbean men, Caribbean folks that have a Caribbean background that went out and dominated in the track world. There was a sense of pride. You guys see right here, I still compete in half marathons. I still go and run 10Ks. I still do this. I still run every single morning. I now consider myself I consider myself a runner because that's where my core is. I mean, again, football player through and through. But now in my adult years, I consider myself, I've stuck with the running thing because that's the core. That's the household I grew up in. And when it comes to being in South Florida and being engaged with this community, being engaged with the running community, that's what it's all about, right? That's what it's all about. And I credit Usain Bolt, and that's why he's on this list. He's on this list because of the trend setting, the way he set the trend. And he changed the whole mentality around what a Caribbean man could be, what we can dream about, what we can aspire to be. Like someone like my nephew can look him up and realize, man, we're not just these lazy, unmotivated people that the world makes us out to be, these party goers and things like that. And I'll close you out with this story because it was about last year when the Olympics last summer when the Olympics was going on. Now I teach at a school named the Center for Creative Education, and we have a lot of young Jamaican girls that come. It's K-5. And I remember we were talking about the Olympics and what was going on. And one of the girls didn't know who Usain Bolt was. And I have a video out there. I don't have time to pull it up now because I got to get to the next person. But I broke it down in that video where I told her, I'm like, you don't know who Usain Bolt is and you're Jamaican. So I pulled out all the clips, put it up on YouTube. It wasn't just Usain Bolt, but it was also the female Jamaican runners as well, and all that kind of stuff. So, again, Usain Bolt, number 2 in the Battle of Aswand Cruickshank. All right, 3 through 5 gets a little interesting. 3 through 5 gets a little interesting because we talking my sport now. We're talking my sport. There could be some biases here because we're talking about my sport, the sport I grew up loving, the game of football. You guys are reading it correctly. Yes, I am. You're damn right. I am putting Sean Taylor as the late Sean Taylor as number 3. Let me break down why. We're going to break down why. And I'll between Sean Taylor and Mike Vick, I'm going to have some highlights playing as I explain this to you. But let me read it out first. Number 3, Sean Taylor. Let me just hear me out. Hear me out, folks. All right. Yes, I am a Washington Redskins diehard. And no, I don't care if you think this is biased. I do not, because I have a very valid reason why the late Sean Taylor is number 3 on this list. Sean Taylor was the prototype for the new age safety. He hit like a linebacker and can guard the team's best receiver and had range that made quarterbacks second guess everything. Before him, most safeties were specialists. Either they were good in coverage or solid in run support. Remember, they were one of the two. It was either that free safety that can, cover the backfield, or that strong safety that's coming up in run support. We didn't really see someone that could do both like that. We didn't see it. We did not see it. You can't name me anybody before him that could just come up and do both like that, all right? His tragic death cut short a career he was just getting started, folks. But the legacy left behind, it changed the game entirely for the defensive identity of football. After him, safeties had to do everything. And linebackers like myself, again, I was one of those linebackers that they didn't let play, couldn't cover or anything like that. That was me. When he came along, it was a different type of linebacker. So let's break all this down, and I'm gonna let his highlights run as we as I talk you through this. All right, I'm gonna let his highlights run as we talk through this. When it comes to defensive football, and let me remind you of what swiftly actually means, right? Being able to do multiple. Just look at it. He's coming up. He's hitting folks. He's able to look at the athlete. He's being able to get back. Listen, that's run support. Yes, him. Okay. The U's own, man. All right. So I might get this check because I'm watching the highlights as I'm talking to you. Blitzing, he's coming up, he's blitzing, he's making sacks, he's stripping. All right. When it comes to moving swiftly and what you want out of an employee, this is what you want. Because when you have a player who is this good and this dynamic and can cover this much ground, it makes you incredibly, oh, we got an ad coming. It makes you incredibly flexible as a defensive play caller and what you're all about. All right. So you're able to come up with several blitzes that will will make it so you're very flexible on the defensive end. Your D line could just play football, and you know that you got guys in the back that are going to be able to cover, that can do a lot of different things, that can come up and play the run. If the offensive coordinator tries to get cute with little screen passes, little draws, things like that, you have guys that have enough athleticism that can make up that ground. The same way, you as a business owner, you may need to have someone that can not only sell, but hey, I need you to go clean up the bathrooms as well. I need you to go and make a few phone calls. I need you to go and give out a few flyers. I need you to do some of this front, like what I will be calling the Move Swiftly world. I need you to go do some of this front team work. I need you to go develop this skill and do that. If you have a business in which you are setting up a system in which folks can do these multiple things that we're seeing here on the screen as we kind of watch his highlights, then you start to see the success of your business. You start to see folks coming in and they're like, all right, I'm just getting better. Now, like I said, the reason he's on the list is one, I'm a diehard Washington Redskins fan. So I used to watch him. And when I played linebacker and I saw all the things he was doing, this was that, when you have that come to Jesus moment, that honest moment when you say, man, I ain't going to be good enough to play in the NFL. I am not going to be good enough to play in the NFL. I watched him from the start. He started making a difference from day one in those preseason games. You saw him on special teams flying around, doing absolutely everything. And when it comes, actually, let's go back to this play here. Did you guys see that? Look at it. He's coming down. He's inside out. This is linebacker stuff, folks. Inside out tackle. That's open field. This was his rookie season. He was a player. He was an absolute player. So let me let these run. I'm gonna let these run, and then we'll get into number 4 here. Here we go again. Run support. You see what I mean? Doing multiple things. All right, we're back in the pass. This is scary when you have a defensive player that can do all these things. That's the best team's best receiver right there, Larry Fitzgerald. Here he is on run support again. There he is. He's coming right there. He's right there. And that's range. He's getting there just as fast as the linebacker. So when I tell you, it was crazy to think about. And then this is one of my favorites. Fumble, loose ball. Here he is. Who's got the ball? 21. Watch the dive. Let's go, boy. Yeah. Listen, man, say what you want. Sean Taylor's on the list at number 3. Period. Point blank. End of discussion. Here we go on the run. Here's another run play. Who's coming in? Did you see it? He's picking up the ball. Yeah, this was the playoff game. Yep, this is the playoff. This was the one when he actually, I think he got ejected for spitting in the guy's face. I actually watched that one with that was the last playoff win before this year. Watched that one at Billard's in Silver Spring around a ton of Redskins fans. Come on, man. That is the best safety to have ever played. I know some Ed Reed fans ain't gonna like hearing that. But I gotta rock with my guy, man. I gotta rock with my guy no matter what. He was him. All right. There it is again. And that's what it does. So when you go back to what I said here, Newman, he hit like a linebacker, can guard the team's best receiver, and he had the range that made the quarterbacks second guess everything. So the range to make quarterback second guess everything is what I mean when I say this. Like when you see this, boom, 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 he thinks the guy's open, and then there he is. There's another interception, right? So there it is. Sean Taylor, number 3, point blank, period, end of sentence. All right, coming in, number 5. This was the one that there was some debate on this one. There was a little bit of debate. And the reason I have the article, the image to open up the article with Mike Vick is because there was no debate at all about Mike Vick being on the list. There's no debate at all about Mike Vick being on the list. Where I had a little bit of tension was which version of Mike Vick do you think deserves to be on the list? Which version of Mike Vick, right? Because there's a difference, all right? And it goes back to the conversation that we had about the acronym SWIFTLY, is those skilled players, when you depend too much on your skill, eventually you run into trouble. Eventually you can run into trouble because you're depending too much on your skill and you're not depending on your teammates as much. You're not really, focusing, and you're not trusting the folks around you to get the job done as much. So when it comes to Mike Vick, I thought his ability, or the things that I saw him do as a Philadelphia Eagle, were far better than what I saw him do as an Atlanta Falcon. Now, again, keep in mind, I'm the person that's a huge Redskins fan, and I maybe didn't see every game when he played with the Eagles or when he played with the Falcons, but the main plays in the games that I did watch, obviously I watched more when he was playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, because as a Redskins fan, we play them twice a year. So what I saw him do in Philly was be a very, very patient quarterback. So I'll be very patient. Obviously, the Atlanta Falcon versions of him was absolutely electric. The Virginia Tech version of him was absolutely electric. I again, these, between Sean Taylor and Mike Vick, I wore their jersey. Like, I had their jersey growing up. There's no surprise that they're on this list, because I used to have both of their jerseys. I had the Falcons jersey and I had the Redskins one of Sean Taylor, and I had the Mike Vick jersey, right? I still wear those jerseys. But the point I'm making is that when you talk about Mike Vick in Atlanta, there were times in which I caught it, where it got caught on camera, caught on film, where he would be pulling the ball down and he'd run right into a sack. In fact, let me just read it to you so you guys have some context here, especially for my audio listeners. So Mike Vick, the only debate around Vick is which version was more exceptional, Atlanta or Philadelphia. Everyone born after 87, I'd probably push that back to more 84, will agree Mike Vick belongs on the list, period. Me personally, I lean towards the Philadelphia Vick. That version was more patient, more composed in the pocket, and more willing to let plays develop. Atlanta Vick was electric, no doubt, but sometimes his athleticism led him to pull the ball down too soon. Still, without Vick, and this is the true statement. This is what you guys got to really dive into. Listen up, tune in. Anybody listening right now, tune in to what I'm saying right now. Get your ear nice and close to wherever it is you're listening to this from. Without Mike Vick, there's no Mahomes, no Lamar, no Josh Allen. At least not the way we know them. He paved the way for a generation of QBs who blend mobility and precision. He made the impossible seem routine, and that's why he's here. So, love me some Tom Brady. I'm a Michigan fan. Love me some Tom Brady. Love me some Peyton Manning. And if I'm taking a quarterback, I'm taking Tom Brady all day, every day. That's the guy, obviously. But when we're talking about exceptional, trend-setting type of players, Mike Vick exceeds that, because he had athleticism like a damn slot receiver. He had the kind of athleticism that was unreal. But also what you saw was him condense that athleticism. I want to say condense, or kind of put a control on that athleticism and say, I'm gonna sit back and be that passer that's sitting in the pocket, being patient, hitting my guy, this is back when he was with Philly, hitting my guy, Deshaun Jackson. In fact, let me let his plays. I have his plays I'll have his play shown. Hitting my guys on certain routes and making sure I'm hitting guys in stride and stuff like that. And when you watch a Patrick Mahomes, or when you watch a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, or even if you want to go back to even Cam Newton, when you watch these guys, they are absolutely athletic, absolutely some unbelievable athletes, but you see a Patrick Mahomes who's really patient. He's stretching the pocket. He's making it so, guys are coming up. He's threatening them with the run as he presses the pocket, and then he pops one over your head. He pops one to Kelsey. He pops one to my man, the new guy, Xavier Worthy, pops one to him, or he hits one to the running back, coming to this check down on the running back, because he's pressed the pocket and he has the ability to run, but he doesn't always take it. So now it really puts a defender in the bind. And you saw him do that. You've been seeing him do that for years at this point, right? Years doing that. Josh Allen, same thing. Lamar Jackson, same thing. You see guys that have the mobility, but they're very, very patient. And in my opinion, because, listen, he was an icon. He was a cultural icon. He was him. Everybody had a Mike Vick jersey. Everybody wanted to be Mike Vick. Bro, every quarterback in America wanted to be Mike Vick. But when we saw this version that was showing on the screen there, when we saw this version of him, I was in college when we saw this version of him, and I was studying the game. And you see, he still has the athletic ability, but he's getting out of bounds now, right? Let's watch. Let's watch. Now, again, if you're listening to this on the Blue Swiftly podcast, make sure you tune into it on YouTube or subscribe to the YouTube channel, just because, I use YouTube and I've learned. But this was what I mean when I say patient. Right here. Here it is. This is a Philly play. Exactly. You see he hits him in stride. I know it's going against my Redskins, but he's hitting my man in stride. Watch it. It's coming up. This is over 50 plays of Mike Vick just doing things that you just don't see quarterbacks do. Watch a play action. So it's a play action, and he's here. He's patient. What I used to see is this version of him would take it and run because he had the ability. The Falcon version of him would do that. Philadelphia Eagle version of him is patient, and then look at the bomb that he launches. He hits him in stride. Come on, man. Him. Come on. Right in stride. That was Macklin, Jeremy Macklin, I think his name was, out of Missouri. You see, there we go. And there's the version of him in Atlanta. That's the version of him in Atlanta that was like a human joystick to where he pulls it down. You saw the maturity of him when he went Atlanta, Philly. Watch. There's not real pressure here. You just see him in the pocket. There's not real pressure, but he pulls it down. He pulls it down because he knows he can. He just pulls it down because he knows he can. Now he gets yards, and again, I think he's actually down there. So that's where we're at. And again, we could debate that all day in terms of which version of Mike Vick you would say, but he is number 4 on this list. Now, 5A. Yeah, I couldn't keep this list to 5 people. I couldn't. Now, 5. I'll just show you guys now because I'm running a little low on time here. I try to keep these within an hour of me talking. But between 5A and 5B, 5A, Charles Woodson, and 5B, Deion Sanders. And the reason that these two had to make the list, they just had to. They had to. Both of them, I couldn't pick with the two. Listen, I diehard Michigan fan here, and my second team is the Florida State Seminoles. So, between Prime Time and Charles Woodson, I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I took a walk. I came up with this list on Friday, and I took a walk. And I was like, man, I can't make a decision when it comes to what skilled players. So nowadays, there's a lot of talk about Travis Hunter and his Heisman and all the things that he did. And I'm not shoving it aside what he was able to accomplish. But here is why I put these skill guys. I kind of put them on the back end of this list because there's so many people, so many athletes that play receiver. I'm talking about high level. You're talking about big time college NFL type of high school, athletes, right? The ones that are playing at these bigger schools. There's so many skill guys, so many wideouts, so many DBs, so many running backs, that safeties, those type of guys. There's so many of them that can play multiple positions. There's so many of them that can do what Travis Hunter did. I'm telling you, we've seen it. It is not the first time that we've seen a player go play some receiver, go play some corner, do some slot, and do some kick return. It's not the first time it's happened. It's not. I know a lot of people want to think it is because they're, caping up for Coach Prime and there are a bunch of Prime sexuals out there, but it's not the first time that it's happened. So the reason that number one, Charles Woodson was on the list. Again, I'll admit to you, I'm a diehard Michigan fan, but for him to become the Heisman primarily for the defensive stuff that he was doing was that's something that you cannot just brush aside. You can't brush the fact that he did it as a defensive player. That is what puts him on the list, because when you think about the legacy of Charles Woodson, what Charles Woodson was about, the fact that he won the Heisman doing it like that made it possible for a lot of coaches to get really creative in terms of what they do with their skilled players. Now, again, for me, I'm telling you right now, I'll be 100% honest with you. Yes, I'm a little bit biased seeing that. The reason I'm such a big Michigan fan is because the youth football team I played for, we used to wear the Michigan colors. These are the uniforms that we wore right here. The exact same thing. The exact same thing. The Brick Shady White Oak Warriors used to wear these exact same uniforms. And I'm telling you from experience, when you had a player, one of us, I wasn't one of the guys, but I remember the first player that walked out with that number 2, that deuce, what? And the thing is, I played for them around that time when Charles Woodson won that Heisman. And when again, another jersey that I owned was Charles Woodson. This is back when he played with the Raiders, but I had that jersey too growing up. But when you were a Brick Shady White Oak Warrior and you wore those Michigan colors and you came out with that deuce on, what? And you wore that deuce come on, man. Again, he had to make the list. And the reason that Dion has to make this, again, went to Florida State after Michigan. I'm a Florida State guy, Florida State fan. But at the same time, you got to make sure you include this version of him, this baseball version of him. And one of the things that I actually talk about in second book I wrote, Make Your Move, is how playing other sports is the best thing you can do. Playing other sports is the best thing you could do as an athlete. So when you think about how primetime really, really dominated games, all right, you think about how when we're watching Sean Taylor, how those DBs are playing in space, they're rangy, they're all over the place. And then you think about what it takes to be an outfielder in baseball, and you see those same similar movements that opened up doors and opened up possibilities for a lot of players to say, okay, if I'm going to be getting better, I'm going to have to do multiple things. So that was it. I couldn't just do one of the two. I couldn't pick one of the two. So yes, it's top 5, but 6 in there, like 6 total people, because I couldn't pick between Charles Woodson and Deion Sanders. It just was not a possibility. And that's just us as sports folks, people that really tune into the game and take so much from the game and apply it to businesses, apply it to our lives, and apply it to the things that we're all about. That's just the way it's going to be, because this is the game, man. This is the game. You learn so much. And one of the things, as I close you guys out, what I'll be addressing, not tomorrow, but Thursday, is how to recognize when you're dealing with a person who is exceptional, when you have the mindset to have the eye and develop that ability, that talent, or develop your eye for talent, develop your evaluation skills, so you know when somebody is exceptional, when they're trend setting, and how you can take advantage of that, exploit that, and make it so you guys continue and your business continues to get better. So just to recap, today we did our top 5 Tuesday, top 5 trend setting / exceptional athletes. Started out LeBron, positionless basketball, Usain Bolt changed the whole stereotype, changed the whole mindset, changed the whole image of the Caribbean man. Sean Taylor, late Sean Taylor, absolutely changed the way defensive football is played as we know it. Can do a lot of different things. If you watch this on video, you saw him do a lot of rangy, a lot of things that, again, just won't get picked up by the casual fan. Number 4, we got Mike Vick. You can agree to disagree on which version of Mike Vick was the best, was the most trend-setting, Philly Mike Vick or Atlanta Mike Vick. And then 5A and 5B, Charles Woodson and Deion Sanders. Period, point blank. I don't want to hear that's it. That's where we're going with it, because there's a lot of other skilled players or players that play that position that have done some incredible things. As I mentioned before, makeyourmove.com. That's makeymove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. Just tap in with me there. All the information. You can join the Patreon. You can book me to speak, or you can just learn more about Aswand Cruickshank. And this recording will also be available on the Move Swiftly podcast as well, which continues to be the #1 podcast on innovative teamwork. Everyone out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.